Hello and welcome to WP. This week it's a long-running saga involving Perth's only casino, and now change is imminent. A Royal Commission and damning report tabled in Parliament this week found Crown unsuitable to operate a casino in WA, issuing 59 recommendations over failures at the venue. But are the changes enough? I spoke to former Liberal Party Upper House MP Anthony Fells about what he expects following the inquiry. Anthony Fells, thanks for joining us. The Royal Commission report into Crown's operation of its Perth casino has been handed down. What's your take on the finding that it's unsuitable to run a casino in WA?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's very surprising to too many people. But the problem now is how does the government react to that, other than considering the report and giving a rap on the knuckles and maybe a small fine, which won't make a big difference to their scale of operation. But I think, given that the Royal Commissioners have indicated that the operators of Crown shouldn't be operating a casino, I think the government ought to revisit the original Burswood Control Act of 1985 when they set up this casino and the monopoly provisions that they put in there, because obviously the operators of the Crown Casino and whoever succeeds them should not have a monopoly over the casino operations in Western Australia.
These findings have been a long time coming, haven't they?
Well, it's almost 4 decades. It was the mid-80s when the Burke Labor government actually announced that they were building the first casino for West Australia. It was very controversial at the time. It was all part of the WA Inc. and the players involved in WA Inc. Dallas Dempster was given the licence, who was a big donor to the John Curtin Foundation, which was a Labor Party fundraising organisation. There was a parliamentary inquiry into a lot of the corrupt involvement of various people in that process. It was very contentious, but part of the Act and the assurances that the government gave at the time was that it would be majority owned by Western Australia. It was going to be listed on the stock exchange. Every West Australian had a chance to invest in shares in it, and in fact I did. It was the first shares I ever bought. I was still a university student at the time. I invested $1,000 and made 50% on the float. It was all based on, I think a Malaysian company, Genting, was the operators because they knew how to operate casinos in Malaysia. But there's a lot of controversy about having a casino here and whether it would assist organised crime and outlaw motorcycle gangs, which weren't so prevalent in those days, but they are now, and all those sort of people being able to wash or launder their money through the casino operations. And that's been proven to be so, not just locally with our outlaw underworld people, but also with international underworld operators coming to Perth and Melbourne and other casinos around Australia, and possibly Sydney in future if they were given the licence under Crown. But there's been millions and millions of dollars laundered through these operations without the authorities being aware or fully aware of it. And I think the only way to do that is you either have better regulation, and it's proven that hasn't been the case, or you give them some penalty like taking away their monopoly control, and in future if that sort of thing is happening you can always threaten to bring competition into the market by opening up a licence to a new competitor.
And finally, do you believe the changes will be enforced, and what do you expect to see?
You never know in politics. They can, especially when you've got a government with a huge majority in both houses, there's not a lot of scrutiny from the opposition or minor parties. They just don't. They can argue about it as much as they can, but the government at the end of the day can make whatever decision they like. But I think it'll be good for all Western Australians to abolish the monopoly power, the monopoly position that Crown and the Crown casino owners enjoy at the moment. There's no need. For almost 40 years since they were issued that original monopoly licence under the legislation, it's never been reviewed and never been removed, and it's time that happened urgently, and following on from that they can make whatever changes they need to in line with the recommendations of the Royal Commission.
And now here's AMA WA spokesman Dr Andrew Miller with his weekly COVID-19 update and commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. I'm flying today, so the first time in 2 years. I have got my N95 and my eye protection, which I'll be popping back on in just a second, but firstly wanted to talk to you a little bit about the fact that our case numbers are rocketing back up across the country at the moment. 17,500 cases yesterday in New South Wales, over 7,500 in Victoria, in Queensland, similar number in WA, 3,500 in South Australia. So unfortunately, we're certainly not seeing the reduction that we wanted to see, and that's as a result of a combination of the BA2, highly infectious variant, and various places around the country reducing restrictions on gatherings and indoors and masks and so on. We're also seeing, unfortunately, quite a number of deaths, about 285 in the last 2 weeks, and our hearts go out to those families. And about 2,100 people in hospital, over 100 of those in ICU across the country. So this is not a mild disease, it's a very serious disease when it affects large numbers of people all at the same time, and spreads incredibly quickly as it's doing through our schools, where we have obviously all the kids under 5 unvaccinated, and many of the kids over the age of 5 only having had 1 dose so far. So still a lot of work to be done on this pandemic, despite the sort of talk that it may be over, and we need to be very careful when we're out and about. The most effective and simple thing to do is to wear a high quality mask when you're indoors, a P2 or N95 if possible, but something that fits closely to the face and cuts down on the amount of air that you're breathing in around the side of the mask. I think that it's reassuring that in the vast majority of people this is not a severe disease, but a small percentage of a big number is still a big number. So we need to take it very seriously, and for those over the age of 65 now, be getting along for that 4th dose of vaccine, remembering that vaccines are essential, but they're not going to be enough to stop this pandemic. We also have to breathe clean air, fresh air ventilation wherever we can, and high quality masks whenever we're indoors in a place where we might be sharing air. And the easiest tip, if you're going in a car, is to have the fresh air on rather than the recycled air, because that recycled air does build up extremely quickly. So get your RAT tests and use them. If you have any symptoms at all or any suspicion that you've been exposed to someone who's positive, and then keep yourself isolated if that test turns out positive, and follow it up with a PCR. We still need to take this very seriously, because with the cases going up at the rate that they're going up at the moment, the pandemic sure isn't over yet. Thanks very much for your time.
And that's WP for this week. We'll be back again next time, but for now, it's back to you, Ivan and Melly.
Thanks, Nelson. And here's Leo with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. Tonight on 6 News, the federal budget set to be handed down by Treasurer Josh Frydenberg for the 4th and possibly final time in less than 48 hours. We'll let you know what to expect with the federal election now just weeks away.
Plus, Australia set to ease more travel restrictions as a 4th vaccine dose is recommended for those aged over 65.
And North Korea's latest missile launch puts the world on notice, but it was the way it was presented on state-run television that has gone viral.
You can see those full details on the stories and much more on our YouTube channel. Just search 6 News Australia to find us, or our website 6newsau.com. For now though, guys, it's back to you.
Thanks, Leo. And that's our weekly news and current affairs, with the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our good work in the community. You can find out more on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, wish you good health, good night, see you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.